My bolt fire will expunge your heresy!
Warhammer 40K was always such a natural pairing with what has come to be called the boomer shooter. These crunchy, nostalgic celebrations of 90s mayhem that take notes from the likes of old school Doom, Quake, and Rise of the Triad. The original Boltgun was one of those team-ups that seems so obvious in retrospect that I was almost mad I didn't think of it myself. With Boltgun 2, the couple of levels I've played show a desire to evolve a bit beyond those templates though. It still has the look and feel of all the blood-drenched classics while dialing up the scope and expanding the environments and character roster. Like its predecessor, Boltgun 2 brings the grimy, oppressive reality of the 42nd millennium to life with a readable, pixelated style that evokes the essence of it in a way that even the most hyper-realistic renditions like Space Marine 2 struggle to match. This art style just works for the chunky weapons, madcap enemies, and hostile environments so that it doesn't feel like a gimmick or a compromise. It feels like undiluted 40K. And it's impressive how much personality and detail they've packed into some of these low-res heretics. The biggest change this time around is the way the levels are laid out. I played 2 of them, set on 2 different deadly worlds, and both focus on lengthy, semi-linear outdoor environments that involve traversing huge distances rather than exploring and backtracking through a single facility. We might still see some of the latter, but the devs are conscious of the fact that the first game felt like it kept you cooped up inside too much. The first level is almost entirely winding natural corridors through a jungle-covered death world, and the forces of the archenemy seem to be our main opponents this time around, with Nurgle's cultists taking center stage for this stretch. Hopping over giant tree roots and blasting through mossy caves is definitely a different vibe, and I found it a little bit too linear in some sections. There are still secrets to find and a couple places where you might have the choice of a left path or a right path, but the trade-off of this new biome is that there are several places where it looks like I should be able to blast my way through the underbrush, but it's simply a hard blocker. Poxwalkers and Plague Marines are a good fit for this jungle trek though, impeding the way with damage-dealing pustules and teeming hordes of minions. Boltgun 2 has a little bit of a glass cannon feeling to it, even in the boots of the Space Marine Stern Guard Malum from the first game. Ranged attacks can often be shrugged off in almost ridiculous quantities, while even your basic bolter blasts whole rooms full of trash to bits. But getting bogged down in melee is apparently a fate even the Emperor can't spare one of his sons from. Malum has a powerful charge ability that can blast a path through a whole battalion if used right, and a deadly chainsword that makes him a match for just about any individual foe close up, but charging into the thick of it and trying to fight my way out never really ended up being a good idea. You want to get in, do some damage, and get out so his superhuman health regen and any power-ups you can gobble up can do their jobs. This kind of tactical thinking is even more important for Boltgun 2's second playable character, Naira Veyrath, a Celestarian of the Sisters of Battle. She's less tanky but far more mobile, which lends itself to a swift, merciless, almost manic playstyle that had me rarely standing still for more than a second or two. Instead of a charge, she has a slide that can turn into a jump that doesn't have the killing power of Malum's charge, but allows her to quickly reposition through huge groups of enemies instead of going around them. Her power sword also has a deadly lunge that further develops her role as a hit-and-run sort of fighter who strafes around the enemy flanks and wears them down. The jungle level concludes in a large honeycomb-like cave with a traversable arena surrounded by deadly poison swamps from which endless waves of Nurgle forces will attack in multiple directions until a dropship arrives. It's tense, tricky, and tactical. But Malum and Naira won't be alone, since friendly Imperial Guardsmen from the Death Corps of Krieg show up to do, well, what guardsmen do, and act as human shields for the most part. I'm giving them a hard time, but this can be very helpful. Like I said, getting surrounded is probably the worst thing that can happen to you in Boltgun 2, so having a blob of friendlies in a pinch can give you more options to reposition for a renewed attack. They don't do a lot of damage, and they certainly aren't going to win the battle for you. Also, they take full friendly fire, so you're probably going to end up putting a bunch of their names on a plaque yourself, but I like how they create the sense of a larger military operation taking place around us. I would have probably expected catechins for this particular mission, since it's the jungle, but they didn't receive new models in the tabletop game recently, and I'm sure Games Workshop wants to sell more Krieg. The second mission I played takes place in dramatic frozen canyons on an icy world strewn with Imperial ruins. This creates a mix of natural and artificial environments that doesn't feel quite as aggressively linear as the previous one. This time, Horn's bloody-handed forces are the main opponents, generally rushing you down like the last 11th edition rulebook at the local game store. Thurgle has some interesting tactics. These dudes mostly just have anger. By now, my arsenal was ready to match them though, and all the guns in Boltgun 2 feel pretty fantastic. Even Malum's regular bolter and Naira's bolt pistol hit with the devastating force 40k lore would suggest they should, making short work of even some of the tankiest enemies. These aren't the weapons you fall back on when you're out of ammo for everything else. They're fully respectable tools in the kit that can clean up, especially at mid-range. For when you really just need something big to die, Malum gets an armor-shredding plasma gun and Naira gets a long-range crossbow. Both have a slower rate of fire but hit like an orbital laser, which rewards being thoughtful and precise even amidst all the chaos and carnage. For special occasions, Malum brings a heavy bolter that requires a bit of a wind-up but pretty much deletes anything you point it at, and Naira gets a wicked flamer that can simply burn a path of slag through everything within short to medium range. It's especially satisfying to exterminate Nurgle's disgusting minions with this thing. The ice level also features some occupied bunkers that can either be assaulted at a distance or infiltrated for some close quarters action, which was a nice change in texture compared to the forest level. There are some secrets to be found that required a fair bit of precise movement and jumping, which I had a good time with, and these frantic sections bidding you only to purge provide intense crescendos to the rising action that tested all of my skills and drained my ammo, encouraging me to use all of the different weapons available to me in their natural roles. I've only played a couple hours of Boltgun 2 at this point, blasting through the 45-minute demo as both playable characters, but I've had a rousing time with it. Malum and Naira feel different and exciting with punchy and satisfying weapons, and the new level designs, particularly the ice one, have me intrigued to see what else they've cooked up. It's still very much what I'd expect when you say Warhammer 40K and boomer shooter, but that remains a glorious combination. For more previews of the biggest upcoming games, don't miss our recent looks at Monster Hunter Outlanders and The Sinking City 2. And for everything else in the world of gaming, stick with IGN.